Hello, thank you for coming and welcome to my toast. Everyone dreams of wealth, grandeur, an overall beautiful life. The American dream, a common trope in American society. But does it really exist today? For me, it exists today more than ever. Gleaming possibilities around every corner for everyone. Many humans in our world are born with massive wealth already, massive head starts, with parents guiding them on their way every step of the turns. I know I was lucky enough to have phenomenal support and companionship around me throughout my whole life. But what of those who don't come from wealth or privilege? Those who didn't have any advantage? Those born not into prosperity, but disparity? Those who faced every conceivable obstacle along the way and still managed to make it out on the other side. I toast today to all those who managed to overcome this adversity, those who made it to the top of their games with every possible force in the world telling them they could. A great tale of this is the one of Jimmy Butler. Left by his father as an infant, kicked out of the house at the age of 13, he was just a young man, needing more guidance than ever. Instead, he was forced to stay at friends' houses as long as they would allow him to crash there, and then do the same thing over and over for years. Many times he was homeless at 15, a life worse than most of us could imagine, a life I hope none of you or I ever must live. And yet, he pushed on. He continued doing what he could, falling haphazardly through his teen years. In these tough forming years, Butler turned to basketball, and he got good at it. It wasn't until he was 17 that he was taken in, finally, by a friend's family permanently, a blessing upon his life. Still, he went without any offers to play college ball at the end of his high school career. Even so, somehow, he managed to make it all the way from junior college through the ranks to the NBA. Oh yeah, and on the way, he graduated with a 4-year degree from the University of Marquette. Facing all he did, he came out on the other side, not into a life of poverty and crime, but into a prosperous, successful career. Another great example of this is Messi, soccer player for Barcelona. Born into a poor Argentinian family, Messi was a tiny little kid. He stayed tiny into his later years. He had a growth deficiency, and his body wasn't growing at all. He did not attend school much as a child, as other children would bully him based on his stature. His parents were unable to afford his medications. Messi, facing all this, turned to his only outlet, soccer. The boy was good, very good, and at the age of 13, FC Barcelona, one of the biggest teams in the world, offered the boy's father a contract to fly his son and the whole family over to Barcelona so Messi could live and train with the team. The deal was famously written on a napkin in a cafe, the key caveat of the deal being that Messi's medication was provided. Facing this tough childhood, Messi went on to become one of the undisputed best players of the sport, today and of all time. One of my personal favorite stories is the story of Robert Herjavec. If you watch the show Shark Tank, I'm sure you know who I'm referring to. Robert's consistently the kindest and most empathetic shark on the show, and there's a very real reason for this. Robert was born in Yugoslavia. The country was controlled by communists, and they ruled with an iron fist. The family, already poor, was forced to flee the nation as his father was a political refugee, daring to speak out against the government. As a little boy in Canada, his family struggled to get by, his father working double shifts for his entire childhood every single day to feed the family. He worked minimum wage jobs all through his 20s as well to help support the family. Eventually, Robert got a job at a company in which he was wildly unqualified. He got the job because he promised to work 6 months for free. In this time, he was waiting tables just to make ends meet. Forced to flee his home country as a little boy, growing up as an impoverished young man and young adult, he was able to become one of the most respected and wealthy figures in our modern media. Life can be very kind, loving, and joyful. Life can also be very cruel to some. For the individuals I spoke of, and for so many others, life has been the extremes of either spectrum. They were granted unprecedented misery and disparity in their early lives. Facing insurmountable odds and every obstacle imaginable, these people were able to make their way through the levels of society and prospered through to the other side. For that, I toast to them and to all those who made it through with them.